The clinking of cutlery and the low hum of conversation filled my daughter's dining room that Christmas night. The table looked like something out of a magazine. Glistening roast turkey in the center, silver candlesticks flickering with soft light, crystal wine glasses catching the warm glow. But there was a chill in the air that had nothing to do with winter. I sat at the far end of the table, right by the swinging kitchen door, my usual spot when my daughter Emily wanted me out of the way. Across from me, at the head of the table, sat her mother-in-law, Patricia, wrapped in a deep green velvet dress, pearls catching the candlelight. Emily doted on her like she was royalty, refilling her wine glass before it was even empty, laughing too loudly at her mildly funny jokes. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. Time for gifts, Emily chirped, her voice sweet but with that edge I'd come to recognize, an edge that always meant someone was about to be humiliated, and it was usually me. She passed a small, beautifully wrapped box to Patricia, tied with a satin ribbon. Patricia opened it slowly, savoring the attention. Inside was a diamond necklace so bright it made the entire table gasp. Emily clasped it around her neck herself, leaning in to kiss Patricia's cheek. Then she turned to me with a smirk and slid a flimsy paper bag across the table. The thin handles crinkled under my fingers as I pulled it open. Inside, an old, half-crushed box of generic cough drops. The expiration date was 2 years ago. "Merry Christmas, Mom," Emily said, her tone mocking innocence. "Thought you could use these with that little cough of yours." Her husband chuckled under his breath. A few guests exchanged awkward glances, but no one said a word. Patricia didn't even bother hiding her smug smile. I felt the heat rise in my chest, but I swallowed it down, forcing a small, tight smile. "How thoughtful," I murmured, my voice steady even as my hands clenched under the table. I could feel every eye on me waiting for me to squirm, to make a scene. I wouldn't give them that satisfaction. The rest of dinner passed in a blur of polite conversation I barely heard. My mind wasn't on the turkey or the cranberry sauce. It was on the diamonds glinting on Patricia's neck and the weightless paper bag that sat like a stain beside my plate. Emily had gone too far this time, and I knew something in me had snapped. After dessert, while the others lingered over coffee, I quietly gathered my coat and left without saying goodbye. The icy air outside bit at my cheeks, but it was nothing compared to the cold resolve settling in my bones. Emily thought she could keep pushing me down, parading me like a joke in front of her perfect in-laws. 2 days later, she'd learned just how wrong she was. The morning after Christmas, the cough drop box still sat on my kitchen counter like an ugly little trophy. The edges were bent, the cardboard soft from age, and every time I looked at the faded expiration date, I could hear Emily's voice again, sweet and venomous all at once. I'd spent my life swallowing insults from her, the jokes about how I dressed, the whispered reminders not to embarrass her when her friends were around, the way she'd slowly replaced every piece of my identity with something she could mock. But the thing about swallowing poison for too long is that eventually it eats its way out. By midday, I was downtown, walking into a place Emily would never be caught dead in. A pawn shop that smelled faintly of metal and cigarette smoke. The man behind the counter looked up from a stack of old watches. "What can I do for you?" I slid my wedding ring across the counter. My late husband had given it to me on our 10th anniversary, back when life still had some sweetness to it. The gold was worn, but the diamond was still clean and bright. I'd kept it all these years out of sentiment, but sentiment had no place in what I was about to do. "Cash," I said. "Today." When I walked out 20 minutes later, I had a thick envelope in my purse and a plan in my head. I spent the afternoon at a boutique that specialized in custom jewelry, real craftsmen, the kind who could make something look flawless even if the materials weren't. I handed over the diamonds from Patricia's necklace. Yes, Patricia's necklace. While everyone had been busy with dessert on Christmas night, I had slipped my coat on early and accidentally brushed against her chair. The clasp was cheap, poorly secured, and the diamonds fell neatly into my hand before anyone noticed. Patricia had been too busy talking about her charity galas to realize her neck was suddenly bare. The jeweler squinted at the stones under his magnifier. "Nice quality," he said. "I want them reset," I told him. "In something unconventional." He raised an eyebrow. "Unconventional?" I pulled the battered cough drop box from my bag and set it on the counter. "In this." It took him a moment to realize I wasn't joking. Then his lips twitched into a slow smile. "You want them inside?" "Exactly as you see it. Same cough drop box, same shape. Just heavier." When I came back to pick it up the next afternoon, the box looked identical to the one Emily had given me. Same faded red, same crumpled edges. But when I held it, the weight of those diamonds pulled down on my palm. It was beautiful in a way only I would understand. The next part was trickier. I needed her to bring that box into a place where every cruel smirk and dismissive word she'd ever spoken to me could come crashing down. I needed her to be caught with it. The perfect opportunity came faster than I expected. The day after I picked up the box, I accidentally sent Emily a message meant for someone else, or at least, that's what she thought. It was a photo of a will, half obscured, with a note saying, "The diamonds are in the cough drop box for now. Too risky to leave in the safe. I'll move them after Tuesday." Within 20 minutes, she called. "What diamonds?" she asked, feigning nonchalance but tripping over her own words. "Oh, that?" I said breezily. "Nothing for you to worry about, just keeping them safe until the lawyer finishes the paperwork. Anyway, I have to go, doctor's appointment." And I hung up. I knew my daughter well enough to know she wouldn't be able to resist. She'd come for them, and when she did, she'd be walking into the one place she'd never expect me to have waiting. Somewhere with cold metal chairs, a flag on the wall, and an audience that wouldn't find her cruelty so amusing. She wouldn't just be wearing those cough drops for laughs anymore. 2 days later, the plan unfolded exactly as I knew it would. Emily always underestimated me. She saw me as a relic, something to be tucked away for holidays and dragged out when she wanted to play the dutiful daughter in front of her friends. But greed? Greed would make her stupid every time. That morning, I left the house key under the doormat, the same key I knew she'd once used to snoop through my things while pretending to help me clean. I made sure the note I'd accidentally texted her was fresh in her mind. I even left the cough drop box sitting right on my dresser, as if I'd been careless. Meanwhile, I was nowhere near the house. I was at the courthouse, sitting with a calm I hadn't felt in years, speaking quietly with the bailiff. The judge's clerk already had my statement, the officers had already seen the report, and Patricia, had already confirmed to police that her diamond necklace had been stolen at Christmas dinner. By the time Emily walked into my bedroom, cameras were already rolling from the discreet unit parked down the street. She didn't even hesitate. She took the cough drop box, tucked it into her oversized designer purse, and walked out with the smug look of someone who thought they'd just outsmarted the world. But the thing about diamond theft is that it's not petty anymore. It's serious. She barely made it 10 minutes down the road before the flashing lights came up behind her. The officers opened her purse, pulled out the cough drop box, and showed her what was inside. Gleaming diamonds set perfectly into the shape of candy, every single one matching the stones from Patricia's missing necklace. Her face, they told me later, drained of all color. She tried to claim she was just holding it for me, that she didn't know what was inside, but the texts she'd sent her friend earlier that morning about finally getting something out of Mom didn't exactly help her case. I arrived at the courthouse an hour later, just as they were walking her in for arraignment. She spotted me in the hallway, and for the first time in her life, she didn't have a single insult ready. "Mom," she started. I stepped forward, my voice low but sharp enough to cut through her panic. "You know, Emily, you were right. Wrinkles don't look good in photos, but prison orange? That's going to be unforgettable." The murmurs from the gallery behind us were like a quiet wave of satisfaction. Patricia was there too, clutching her pearls like she might faint. She'd wanted her necklace back. Well, now she was getting it, along with a front row seat to my daughter's fall from grace. Inside the courtroom, the cough drop box sat on the evidence table, its faded cardboard now tagged and sealed in a clear plastic bag. It looked almost pitiful, until you remembered what was inside. The judge read out the charges: possession of stolen property, intent to conceal, attempted fraud. Emily's husband wasn't there. Not a single member of her new in-law family came to stand beside her. She was alone, just like she had made me feel for years. When it was my turn to speak, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "I've been given expired things my whole life," I told the court. "Expired love, expired patience, expired respect. But these," I gestured to the box on the table, "these aren't expired, they're stolen. And I think my daughters finally learned that some things you take don't just belong to you. They carry consequences you can't give back." Emily's eyes brimmed with tears, not the angry, dramatic ones she used to fake when she wanted sympathy, real ones. The kind that come when you realize you've burned the last bridge you'll ever have. The court set her trial date, and as she was led away, she looked over her shoulder at me. Maybe she wanted me to step in, to save her. Maybe she thought I'd bail her out the way I always had before. I didn't move. Because this time, she wasn't just holding cough drops. She was wearing them. In court, in front of the law, in front of every single person she'd ever wanted to impress. And no amount of diamonds could buy her way out of that picture. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.